Hi, this is Mr. Bing. It is February 17th at 8:50 a.m. I'm in Introduction to Engineering Design at Liberty High School, and I have my class here working and maybe listening or not. They don't have to listen because they have their work to do. But I want to show today's assignment, which is 1.1 point, no, that's not right, 1.2.1, which is isometric sketching. And so you would look through this Project Lead the Way course page assignment, and there are goals here for you to read and to look at about isometric views. Isometric, by the way, is a three-dimensional sort of sketching that requires isometric paper, which is a three-dimensional graph paper, and I'll show what that means in just a moment. You're probably used to orthographic like orthodontist, the regular graph paper that everybody knows from Algebra 2, the XY graph and the vertical and horizontal lines. But anyway, you are going to be doing some hand sketches of isometric views. Make sure you write down those goals in your notebook. I'm not worried about the materials right now, but here's the isometric graph paper that I was talking about. I hope you can see this on the recording. The isometric graph paper, hopefully this makes sense to what I described, how there is a vertical axis, which is, I think that's the y-axis, but then there's these strange diagonal axes, which you don't see on regular graph paper. And this assists you in drawing three-dimensional sketches. I'm sure you can look at this, and if you blur your eyes properly, you can see like little cubes in there. And so that's just the way that you draw three-dimensional objects. So that graph paper is available. I have in class, or you can print it for yourself. And then there's this isometric view orientation. I'm not going to open that up right now, but you would open that up and go over that and write down any notes for that. I will show you in my notebook the way that I did that. Spatial visualization, yes, more notes to be taken from this, read that. And then anytime you see a clickable vocabulary term, make sure you write that down in your notebook. Here's another one for the isometric view. And then there's a sketch. Anytime, and I didn't really emphasize this to you guys before, but I should have. Any sketch that you see in the assignment, sketch it in your notebook, okay? That'll be an easier way to know, do we sketch this or not? Yes, if it's there, then you recreate that sketch in your notebook. And so you see that there's one here and there's one here. I would want you to sketch those. And scrolling down, there's some more information here, not as much that I'm worried about because you're going to figure this out on your own pretty quickly and easily. And then isometric sketching, another resource for you to look at and take some notes from. This particular infographic, I really wasn't into, so I just skipped over it. And these steps, 1 through 4, I just decided to skip them. You can't do everything. These assignments, they take quite a while, and I want to really get to the meat of it. And in number 5, I don't really care about the step, but I do care about the sketch. So you would recreate that sketch. Notice it's on isometric paper and isometric view orientation. Look at that again, look at that for information and take some notes from that. I'll show you on my engineering notebook what I did for that. And now 7 and 8, I wanted to skip, and 9 and 10, I wanted to skip. And then I wanted finally to go all the way down. Let me see, I'm sketching pretty much all of those steps through 11 until I get to this. And you can read this and write some notes on it. I'll show you my notes, which are pretty minimal for this particular section. And then here's a sketch for you to recreate. Notice that they've added some detail to the sketch. Instead of just the three-dimensional piece, there's also some shading to give it, sort of a real feel. There's a light source here, which creates the shading here. So anyway, that's I want you to sketch that and shade it appropriately. And then there's also this thing about isometric circles. I'm not going to open this resource, but you will, and there will be some objects there that I want you to sketch. Remember, if there's a sketch in the assignment, then you make that sketch in your notebook. Isometric sketching resource, look at that. And then finally, I get down to step 15. I'm not really concerned about the step itself, but I am concerned about these sketches that you recreate these sketches or similar. I mean, let's not go crazy with recreating exactly. I mean, you can, but if you want to make something similar, I really like that too. So be creative, do something similar. Look up different ideas for isometric sketches. And then looks like I skipped down to step 17, and then there's another sketch that I want you to make. Little Sean Mendez just came on. And then the rest of the steps, I'm not really that concerned about. And I will show you in the engineering notebook what I want to see. And I definitely want to see conclusion questions answered. And I also want you to do the going beyond. Basically, you can read this if you want, but I'm really not that. 5 minutes left, dudes. 5 minutes. Um, and so in this particular assignment or in this particular section, I would want you to recreate those sketches or similar. You can recreate them exactly as you see them, or look, they're giving you sort of suggestions on other types of these two-letter, three-dimensional objects that are kind of cute. So anyway, so I went over all of that. So what is it that really belongs in your engineering notebook? And this is my simulation of what I hope your work looks like. And so this took up in my engineering notebook, in my simulated notebook, took up 5 pages. And I wrote the title, obviously, and then all of the notes that I just discussed. Looks like 2 pages of notes, at least in mine. And then it looks like there's some sketches going on. And then finally, after all these sketches, you get to, oh my gosh, that's the wrong assignment. Let's go back. You see what happens? So this is the assignment, isometric sketching. And this one also has 5 pages of notes and sketches. The first page looks like entirely notes. The second page or half of it looks like notes. And then sketch. You do similar sketches. Do these or something similar. When you look closely, you see that this is all on isometric paper. These were done, simulated, were done on isometric paper and then cut out, these little sketches, cut out and pasted in the page. The notes themselves, as far as, you were looking at the assignment, I was saying all these things so quickly. What is it that really gets written down with, blue ink? And that's this, the goals. Remember I said to write down the goals, hand sketch isometric views. And then the materials were just various objects to sketch. It's not really materials. And then the resources, the isometric graph paper, remember that? I can give it to you. You can print it for yourself. And then the isometric view orientation, which is the resource from there, mostly review it, only the following notes. These were the notes that I felt like were super important, and I hope you agree with that. Remember orthographic projection, orthographic like orthodontist, which is the regular graph paper, and you would just see a side view, a two-dimensional view of each side of the object. And anytime you see a clickable term, click on it and write down the definition. And then this is really important to me, which is the guidelines for selecting the front view of a 3D isometric. You look at these 3D isometrics, this one and this one, what's the front? And typically the front is the one right here if you are viewing just that side. I know there's a top and I know there's a side here, and this they're showing as the front, or I believe is the front. And so the front view is not always the front. And the example that I love to describe is a car. In a car, you think the front of the car is the front view, but the most descriptive view, probably the best view to really understand the object would be actually the side. And so it's the side of the car, but it's considered the front view. You can see the doors and the handles and the windows and the wheels and the tires and all that. So I think that's a good example of what a front is, compared to the front of the actual object. Definitions for you. Isometric view, that's what this is all about. And then here's those sketches I asked you to recreate. They don't have to be actually those things. You can do something different as long as they're representing the concept of the isometric sketching. Skipping steps, recreating sketches here. Notice that I'm not really asking you to do what's listed in the procedure, but just do the sketch, just the sketch. And you can outright skip steps 7 through 11. And then remember that see the light section. Where is that see the light section? Remember this with the sun, floating in the sky. I do want you to make notes of that. But not much. Just do the sketch. I mean, the sketch itself. Picture worth 1,000 words, that kind of thing. And so I just listed steps 12 and 13. And then the keep practicing section. I didn't really concern myself with the step itself, but I did want you to do sketches. Notice these circular features are what's starting to make it more complicated. I forgot, make sure you sign and witness every page. And step 15 and then 16 through 20. Step 15, make these sketches or something similar. 16 through 20, you can skip it and instead recreate that sketch or something similar. And then finally at the end, remember I said there were conclusion questions. You answer those based on your experience. And then there were these going beyond sketches. I just did those 2, simulated, of course. I just did those 2. And what I'm hoping you see here when you zoom out, I'm hoping you see 5 engineering notebook pages that are documented with a lot of blue ink. That's my simulation of my actual handwriting on paper. And then the sketches, little sketches, don't make your sketch take up the entire page. That one's pretty big. But I think that's all I want to say about this. There's a lot more that I could say. It is time to go. So you guys pack yourselves up, grab your Chromebooks, grab your phones, and go. You are dismissed. And speaking of dismissed, this video is dismissed too. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to say bye for now.